All right. Hi, guys. This is Joette with BalloonCoach.com, and I am delighted that today we have three amazing Australians who have taken action. And when there was a problem in Australia regarding balloons in the environment, instead of just sitting back and seeing what happened, they've decided to be proactive and to put together a wonderful website. So if you have not seen the website yet, it is called Pro Environmental Balloon Alliance. PEBA, PEBA.com.au. And so at any time you can go to that website to get more information and find out how you can be involved to help out with what they're talking about tonight. So thank you, Zoe, Ray, and Chris, for taking time out of your business, your family, and your schedule to talk about something that's really important to you. I really enjoyed our conversation when we were in World Balloon Convention and bringing up this topic and how you've been talking to other people in the industry to help it not just be something that people pay attention to in Australia, but that we pay attention to around the world. And for those of my friends that are joining us today from the United States, what I want you to understand is that in Rhode Island on Friday, that was April 6th, they banned balloons from one of the cities there. And that means you cannot sell them and you cannot use them. And if you do, there is a fine. So this is not something that's just happening in Australia. It is also happening in the United States. And I do know that there's other places around the world where legislation can very quickly be put into place through people who may not be fully educated in balloons. So what I'm going to do is turn over the microphone to Chris and then guys and let them know a little bit more about PEBA, and then I'll monitor the questions. And those people who are joining us live today, you can type your questions in from the conversation into the chat box, and we'll be able to see that, and they'll be able to respond to them. So Chris, Ray, and Zoe, thank you for sharing this information with us.
Thank you for having us, Joette. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
It's not too wonderful. Yeah, what a wonderful opportunity for us to I guess, discuss our plight, but also the progress that we're making. It's not all doom and gloom. And it really has given us an opportunity to join together and create a united voice on an issue and be proactive. I think that's really the main issue here, is not just letting certain parties and regulators control the narrative. PEBA really is just about getting members together with a united voice and a united vision. So, we all will chat a little bit about different components about what we're trying to achieve here. But Brian Gray really is the foundation member of PEBA. We and I spoke quite a lot over the phone last year. I think Western Australia, so Perth and Sydney, might have got it a little early in Australia. So what we have here is a lot of green environmental movements, and rightly so. Look, this is the thing. I don't disagree with many things a lot of the green groups are saying in the fact that balloons are litter. I've always thought that to be the case personally. But they've been quite proactive in creating their own argument for regulation in banning balloons. So that's the term, banning balloons. What does that mean exactly? Are we talking about balloon releases? Are we talking about helium balloons? Are we talking about an air-inflated twisted dog at a local fair? So we really want to just sort of jump in on that and help define, what we as an industry believe is true, and help to sort of moderate the extreme positions from the environmental movement with the more neutral and well-rounded expectations from an environmental perspective. So yeah, look, PEBA was formed. Zoe, Claire, Ray, and Brian, of course, we're all active members on it. But we do get a lot of help from others. It's still very early days, and Ray, perhaps I'll leave it to you now to just sort of give a description of our vision and the progress we've made so far.
Sure, thanks, Chris. So PEBA, the challenge for any business, for any group, whatever it might be, is to always have a clear vision or a clear message. And for us, even just in this conversation that we're having today, we were we've caught up several times about this, and it really is, how do we best communicate with the people that we're going to be talking to about what it is we're trying to achieve, and how they can help, things like that. And for today's message, really there are three main things, which is how and why did PEBA come to be, what course of action does PEBA plan to take, and then how can people jump in and be involved. So there's three main points there. And I guess for the history of PEBA, in fact, I'll do another handball. I will throw over to Zoe, who is probably, I don't know how to describe it, perhaps our organizer, if you will. I'm the fisticuffs guy. Chris is the rock star. If that's the case, then Zoe's our organizer, and
moderator.
and Zoe's someone who can just consume article after article, document after document, and help with her mum's help, which I discovered.
Yeah.
Provide a wonderful outcome and help us on the path.
Thanks, guys. It takes all of us to create the team. So, I think where I wanted to start off with was just where our strategic plan kind of is. We've put together a few statements that sort of are guideposts, if you like, for what it is that we're trying to achieve, and we're all really passionate people in our industry, and it's easy for us to sort of get distracted by the noise because we want to be addressing all of it all of the time. That's not always possible. So one thing that we have put together is our strategic plan to bring us back to what it is that we're trying to achieve when we maybe, digress or get a little bit lost. So really the reason we exist is that Brian Gray felt the heat from an organisation in Perth to start with. About 4 or 5 years ago, and he had been working independently, within WA. And then, like Chris said, the challenges had started to expand to the east coast of our country as well. And so PEBA was formed to really be a credible voice for factual information relating to, I guess, our environmental footprint that the industry has, and to bring about positive change primarily in the Australian market to start with. But since then, we've actually discovered that this is, it really is an international concern. So our purpose is to be the environmental advocates for our industry, but we want to do that by creating positive change and educating the community, and providing information for corporate governance, and also being a consultative body from a legislative perspective. So really our big goal, and this is where we're going to put it out there at the moment, our really big goal is to be recognised as the go-to body, our industry body, by our local, state and federal governments. But our other great big goal at the moment is that we want to be the first continent to ban balloon releases.
So I'll jump in there, if that's okay, Zoe. So the why PEBA actually came to be, as you mentioned, you've got one city there, Joette, that's just banned balloons. We've had basically one after the other who have been going down this path, and from our conversation with Dan Flynn at WBC, he has a good idea of what's going on in all of his markets. And he was straight up in saying, yeah, Australia is in the worst situation in the world at the moment. So that wasn't great news for us, but kind of is at the same time. We know at least what we're dealing with now is as bad as it gets. But what we have had is, so we've got 3 levels of government: federal, state government, and then local governments. And we're getting a lot of local governments in particular that are banning balloons. And what that means is, in any government-owned building, any government-controlled parks, areas, no balloons are allowed. And they haven't banned helium balloons, as Chris was alluding to before. It's what is a balloon ban? They've banned everything. So local balloon twisters can no longer twist in public in that council area, in that government area. So once we had the situation of 1 bans, then it's easy for the next council to justify that, and the second one goes down that path. And then the third one, then we have a state government that bans balloons. it's really been leading down that path, and that's been putting a lot of pressure on us. The most recent very scary incident is where this has transferred now from government over to private business. And it's coming as a result of pressure from environmental advocates. I use that term loosely, in fact, environmental advocates. They are anti-balloon campaigners. And one of our largest Australian businesses, Bunnings Hardware, the equivalent of a Lowe's, if you like, hundreds of sites around the country, who hire balloon twisters every weekend, who do decor at their entrances every weekend, who give away balloons on cups and sticks, have completely banned balloons. For them to do that then leads obviously again onto other businesses. It is it justifies the next business doing the same thing, and they're doing it on false information, basically.
Well, it's an easy reaction.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So you know, if all governments and business want to be seen to be green and proactive, our industry is so tiny and voiceless, really defenseless. So you know, if you're a council member and you can't ban cigarette smoking, you can't ban plastic bags in supermarkets. You know, what can you do? Well, here you go. Here's a quick fix, a quick win. So not only are we out there trying to unify this voice. So we're not all out there isolated like I was before Brian called me a couple of years ago. And I think that's actually the wonderful thing about PEBA is we've seen so many people facing this by themselves, and they can now join our group and share their story, and we all together can create an action plan. But back to councils and businesses. So if they're being pestered from one organisation saying ban balloons, they're bad, they're doing this, they're doing that, and there's no yin yang, there's no other side to that story, then it's a no-brainer. So what we're trying to do here is, and Zoe can probably talk about the jellyfish story, is actually start a conversation with these groups. If we are a voice united by X amount of members, then that's a voice worth listening to. So if we can create a conversation with some moderate environmental groups with reasonable expectations, then we can really achieve something. If you are a government or a council or whoever, and you have both parties, both PEBA, the United Alliance of Balloon Professionals, and an environmental lobby group, both asking to ban balloon releases, as an example, to me that'll actually take action. And what we can do in that is, so we're being best practice. We're offering best practice in an environmental position, but at the same time we're moderating the message in something that's reasonable, because we're not saying let's ban balloons. Where the narrative is specific, and without our interactions, I fear that more and more groups will just go for what they consider the big win, which is obviously something that I think is unreasonable and clearly has a huge amount of ramifications for our wonderful industry and mums and dads' businesses.
And if I could add to
it's
that,
a couple of points there we need to clarify, and I think for clarity, the two things that PEBA really stands for are that we won't support, condone, or facilitate the deliberate release of balloons. That's how we define the no balloon releases. But we also have to remember that we also promote the correct disposal of balloons. So, we need to educate venue managers and our clients and our customers and the general public on disposing of balloons, properly. There have been many campaigns in the past, litter campaigns, you'll see in Australia, I can't speak for America, but you'll see on, McDonald's wrappers, for instance, that, they promote the responsible disposal of, their wrappers and their paper bags. So that's something else that we're looking at, educating the public. People in our country, they recognize that symbol. So we need to be, getting that same traction with the disposal of balloons.
and why is PEBA the group to do this is a question. And where we've had, industry has had a response in the past, it has come from the top down rather, or at least it's perceived to come from the top down. It looks as if it's a big business response, and that's the way it's been taken at the moment. PEBA is ground up. So it is literally a fabulous term, mum and dad businesses. It is small businesses around the country and around the world who have gone, okay, we need to take action. And it's actually genuine action. If we're very open to suggestions from anyone within the industry, but it needs to be noted that we literally are an advocacy group for green practices within the balloon industry. So
Absolutely.
Please come to us with all sorts of ideas, but we are for environmental concerns within the industry first and foremost. So we're a legitimate organisation. We start from the ground up, and that gives us a good base to actually talk to some of these anti-balloon campaigners, and we only need to get one or two on board. So of the gamut of anti-balloon campaigners that are out there, there are some who we will never connect with. We will never manage to talk to them. They are resolute in that all bans should be ballooned. But there are some out there, and I think Zoe's going to have a chat about Jellyfish Lady shortly, who are actually listening. They're starting to engage. You know, we're getting traction. And if we get just one or two of these groups to connect with us, to actually join forces, because together we can do great good, then we become absolutely legitimate in the eyes of government, and then we become legitimate in the eyes of business, and that's when we have the ability to fight the good fight, to, you know, disband with some of the nonsense and join forces with Greens groups. We become a Greens group ourselves.
And I'll jump in there, Ray.
Please do, Chris.
It's a good news story, right?
Absolutely.
We're not all bad. Another thing about the website is not only are we adding more and more information, you know, scientific research, all that kind of stuff, talking about our mandate, blogs. Mind you, the website's very new, so there's still a lot of, you know, such a small amount of content, but we'll be adding to that. Because previously in social media, people would post a thing or an article or a story or an experience, and then it's gone a few days later. So, but it's not just for us, that website. It's for journalists. It's so easy for a journalist to write a story about a turtle that died 2 years ago with some balloons in its gut, right? But where do they get the alternate side of the coin here? So we want that information, those stories. You know, I remember Kate Reeves came back from, was it the Philippines or Thailand or something?
Thailand. Yeah.
And her father runs a rubber plantation, and she spoke about it and wrote some wonderful content, and we asked her to write a blog about it, and it's on there. This is a balloon professional story in walking through a rubber plantation and how it felt, and you know, how many people it employed, and you know, like, I think it's a wonderful story that not only I want to read, but maybe a journalist might want to report on. So if we have more of that, you know, and I know Kelly in the US is doing wonderful things with biodegradability, working with a commercial composter, and she's posted that many times. And, you know, I'd love to have that as a blog, as another example. So we're just sort of, yep.
Yeah. And I think if we, you know, come back to the rubber jellyfish, you know, example, there's a lady on the Gold Coast who a few years ago started to film and put together a documentary called Rubber Jellyfish. And, you know, this comes from, look, I believe her heart is in the right place and she has the best of intentions. But the unfortunate thing for our industry was that when she went to, I guess, you know, look for the other side of the story from, you know, our industry, there wasn't a group around at the time like PEBA to be able to have that conversation with her and sit down and provide that type of information. So, you know, she felt at a loss that, you know, she couldn't kind of, you know, speak to the right people. And so therefore the message in her documentary has been probably swayed because she didn't have a group like us to advocate for our industry.
Doesn't care. That's the narrative.
Yeah, it came across that we didn't care. So, I mean, you know, I'm lucky in the fact that now through PEBA and through social media, we've been able to base with her, and she is absolutely welcome to sitting down and having a conversation with me, which I'm, going to do with her in the next couple of weeks. Whether it's too late to, make any changes to what, the message is in her documentary, she has actually said, if I had this, contact and type of communication previously, then, I would have been able to come across with a much more evenly weighted argument.
Now, can I touch a little bit on the future? Yeah? Doesn't really. Joette, do you have any questions, or can we just keep going here?
Currently, there's no questions. So guys who are listening, if you have any questions, feel free to type them in. Obviously, you can see they're an open book, and we'll be glad to answer them for you. But yeah, keep on telling us the mission, Chris.
Right.
What your thoughts are.
Well, look, I think this will probably answer some questions that others may have. We really didn't know where we would go with this, with PEBA. We just started it because it needed to be started, right? There wasn't a huge corporate style boardroom with brainstorming and notes and mission statements, all that kind of stuff. It's developed as it's grown, but clearly with that opens a huge can of worms as to what is the limitations and the extent that a couple of balloon professionals with putting their spare time into this, what can we achieve? So we have kept it. We've really decided that our focus is, as Ray and Zoe said, banning balloon releases in Australia, creating the first country to be completely balloon release free. I think it's a great story, and that'll be a great achievement. And hopefully, and it's difficult to assume, but hopefully that will be a proactive thing for the world, because it is a worldwide problem. If we ban balloon releases in Australia, and we achieve that, and someone in another country, supports balloon releases, and we can't dictate what they do or don't do. But at the same time, if there's a marine animal that dies from such a thing, that'll make Australian press, and that anger and hatred for our product as some environmental mischievous product is going to continue. It's all about perception with the industry, with the broader society. And I know I'm sort of digressing a little bit, but I remember chatting to somebody who was organising a 21st birthday at a pub, and she said she didn't want loose helium-filled balloons indoors because they kill turtles. And it just, that's where perception goes. But anyway, so just to sort of backtrack a little bit, talking about the future. So that is, and unfortunately so, with limited resources, that is our focus. We need to achieve that first. However, a big part of the discussion is compostability, biodegradability, scientific research to support what happens with the chemicals in the soil, best practice for biodegrading. We at PEBA have encouraged our members to conduct their own testing, in which, we're getting wonderful reports on, month 3, this is where we're up to. And if you go to the website, you'll see information on how to get started on that. And, that's a wonderful start for us. Is our own testing, being proactive in trying to, prove to ourselves biodegradability, but it's still not good enough. We need independent laboratory testing, which will cost money. So that's somewhere that we can go in the future. And other things that we're looking at doing is trying to promote corporate acceptance of the brand. Right. So if you're a company with an environmental conscience, what balloon decorator, twister, whoever are you going to use? PEBA branding could be worth something, right? If we in support of banning balloon releases, best practice for sustainable use of our product and disposal, all the rest of it, maybe there's value that. They would want to use a balloon decorator from the preferred supplier list, right? Who are PEBA endorsed or whatever. So that's another avenue. The third, which is a conversation, is, of course, more research on helium. As an example, and I only realised this when we really started inquiring, our supplier in Sydney, we get our helium gas as a byproduct of the exchange of medical gas. I had no idea. So when it goes from liquid form in a one container to another, they actually lose X amount of percent of helium in the exchange process, and they use that it fills up a bladder, and then they pump that back, not in a liquid form, but compressed air form, and sell it to us. So essentially, we're reducing the cost of medical grade helium because we're buying that from the companies. We're using a waste product. Like, what a wonderful story that is. Now, of course, we can't go out there and promote that worldwide because I don't know how other helium companies get their gas. But to me personally in Sydney, I can now advocate that. So it's sort of amalgamating that information. Information is power, right? So the more information we can all have, the more resources. This is the fourth element of PEBA, providing resources. So Zoe has created some draft letters that we can send to council. And Zoe, after this, I'll get you to sort of go into some of the other resources that PEBA can provide. But what was the fifth? The fifth one is, and this is very extreme, but if you look at the mobile phone industry, and at some stores in Australia, they will have a mobile phone recycling box, right? So you put your old phone in there, it goes away somewhere and gets recycled. That's proactive, right? Rather than people getting upset about the constant cycle of having to get new phones and the heavy metals and the rare metals and all that kind of stuff that's in it. They've just jumped in the bandwagon and did it before regulation. I'm assuming, I could be wrong on this, they've done that before regulation. So perhaps why not? There could be some kind of box in people's retail stores or somewhere you can send the balloon to be commercially composted or recycled. So there's many things in the back burner, and as it's been said before, we would love to hear the ideas, but please be mindful of the fact that we have limited resources, time, money, and it's very, very early days, but the ball's rolling, and all of that vision is hopefully to be realized.
I think if we hand it back to Ray's got some really good points on what we can do going forward as far as, our communication on social media, and, how best to utilize the platform. Ray, do you want to cover some of that?
Sure, absolutely.
And one of the questions that came up that people are just asking about is there a written strategic plan available for people to look at?
Zoe?
Look, what we have at the moment, where we say our strategic plan is, these are our guideposts, and we actually formulated this whilst we were all together in San Diego, which is quite hilarious that for all five of us to get together, we had to go around the other side of the world. But it was a fabulous opportunity and allowed us some focused time together rather than, over the phone and over the internet. So we are getting ready to post that on our website. I guess there's no particular formulation for what we plan to do going forward. However, we do have, a list of, I guess, what our first, big ticket items are. And some of those are, like our code of conduct, the preferred suppliers, disposal standards, a corporate presentation to, put to firstly use, in relation to the local Bunnings hardware ban, but then that resource is available, for our members to use as, other corporates or organisations start to be concerned about the use of balloons, our marketing collateral and our resources that will be available to all of our members. So that we've got a list of big ticket items, and we've got our guideposts. So that's kind of what forms our strategic plan currently, and we're happy to share that.
Can I add one thing, sorry, before Ray jumps in? Back to that little summary of the vision for us is, this is a potentially US audience here, Joe, that's logged on here, and it is a worldwide problem. We don't see why not there couldn't be sort of divisions of PEBA worldwide. We of course in Australia can't fight local council overseas. However, I think through the shared story, and this is I think why it's taking up interest now. It's starting to happen in the US, and we're a little bit ahead. We're kind of the canary in the coal mine. But the shared resources, the shared story, the shared experience of what works, what doesn't work, and how that can be amalgamated and filtered internationally. I think there's a lot of value in that.
Okay.
And that's also why I think we're trying to keep it simple too. If we start getting too detailed in our approach, then it's not easy to transfer. What we're trying to do is quite transferable at the moment, which is, get balloon releases banned, improve that standard in our industry, and make sure that we're being responsible in our disposal. They're not hard commitments to make.
Mm.
So one of the questions then is for people who are asking is how can they join PEBA? At this point, can they join things even if they're not in Australia, or how are you currently working that?
Yeah, we really encourage it. On the website, there's a membership application form. So peba.com.au, registration top right, or near the resources link to the right.
The only thing I would put in there,
commitment.
Please don't join unless you are actually committed to what PEBA stands for, which is in core. We won't do balloon releases. We won't facilitate balloon releases.
Yeah. So by joining, membership is free, but by joining, you're actually committing to those two standards that are actually on the homepage of the website.
And
so
we've
actually something you need to understand.
We've engaged some secret shoppers to call everybody up and double check. They're known as greens groups, and they are literally calling down the list of PEBA members and asking them to do balloon releases.
Yeah.
They are checking on us to see if we are legit.
Yeah.
And to date, I'm happy to say that we have had many PEBA members jump online and say, "Yep, look, I've just been secret shopped." They asked me for a balloon release, and I was very pleased to be able to say, "Look, unfortunately, we don't do that anymore," and refer people to the PEBA website. And again, this is a great thing. Environmental advocates, trying to call us out, and when we get the answer right, we're actually helping convince them that we are the solution. So it's helping us bring people on board.
Yeah, I just to add to that, I have a link and a little description on every single email about our membership. And quite often, people, unfortunately for funerals, especially for younger children, which is, a horrible shame, of course. And it's a very delicate issue to tell a grieving family that we just won't sell balloons, to release, because, personally, it's a wonderful gesture that release. Everyone holds an individual balloon. You can understand it. You can get it. But not only is it me saying, "I'm sorry, we don't do that," but it's me saying, "I'm sorry, we don't do that. Here's why." And here's a link to the website for you to do a bit more research yourself.
I think it's great that you have this resource now to show them, because I know here in the United States, when people have asked that, and one of the ones that's very popular is like the rosary bead. So that's like even worse because it's not individual balloons. So there's a lot of other scary things that go along with that. But you're able to say, "Hey, this is why we don't do it." But you know what? As a balloon professional, there are so many other things that we can do with balloons. Just like Stephen Jones the other day did a tribute to somebody who passed away, where he made 2 amazing cars that were a part of his tribute and a part of that event. You can make a cross. There's other things that balloon professionals can do and suggest instead of the release. And then I love that you have the website now for people to be able to go to and understand the reason why you're not doing it. Yeah,
and on that idea, Joette, just thinking about it right now, if we had more and more stories of the alternatives that people have done, we'll write a blog about it.
And I'm actually writing a blog right now on the one that Steve did, so I will send that to you.
Yeah, we'd love to, and that's something that our PEBA members have asked for as well. They say we're the ones at the coalface that are having this emotional, conversation with a customer, either standing in our store or on the other end of the phone. And, sometimes they're left a little blank because, it's a difficult conversation to have. So, if we could come up with a list of alternatives, offerings, then that's, something that could be really helpful for them.
We're getting a few more questions here, I can see, about the structure of PEBA, interest in helping set up a US branch, which is amazing. I think perhaps, Zoe, Chris, we might, rather than try and answer those questions here and now, put something out perhaps on the PEBA Facebook page, which is a great segue for us to introduce people to the PEBA Facebook page. So what's the address there, actually? If you just search...
Just to clarify, there's actually 2 profiles on Facebook. So we have the PEBA Facebook page, which is more of an extension of our website, so that, if environmental groups are searching for us, or if corporates are searching for us, as our profile lifts, they can actually find us on Facebook. Then there's also a members group. So that is only for industry professionals who are legitimately, part of the balloon industry, our artists and our entertainers, to converse and share stories, challenges, media releases that might be happening in their local area, that sort of thing. So you can find that as a members group. So members of the Pro Environment Balloon Alliance. I can see Dan Bellamy has just asked to join, which is awesome. So we'll actually go in there. There's a couple of questions to answer, just so that we can make sure that, you're part of the industry and that you're committed, to joining the conversation. And then we'll go in and we'll confirm your membership. So that's probably the best place for conversation. The PEBA Facebook page is more of an extension of the website.
And to take it from there to the whole social media thing, which we were sort of touching on earlier, that is possibly one of the sooner rather than later goals that we have, is a simple guide to how to engage on social media. We've obviously, this problem started on social media. We've got the greens groups, or again, I don't like that term because I don't find that they're all particularly green, but the advocates for balloon releases get a lot of their traction on social media because it's so easy to click share, and their message spreads and they're doing really well. So for us to engage on social media, it's potentially good, potentially very bad. And we've seen a lot of that lately, certainly where a post goes up about how bad balloons are. And as passionate balloon people, knowing our product and thinking this is not a bad thing, this is incorrect, we want to jump right in and engage straight away. And it doesn't end well. What we are proposing is to put together, and it's again, it's a work in progress, so please bear with us, a simple guide to responding on social media. And the key to that is not confrontational. We need to engage people. And we know that probably most, if not the vast majority of people that we respond to are not going to want to engage. They view us, again, as the old guard, the big business, which is why PEBA have the opportunity as a ground up, mum and dad business-based organisation to be legitimate, but to reply in such a fashion that we are part of the conversation, not we're trying to defend the indefensible. So look out for that one. There'll certainly be posts about that on the PEBA Facebook page.
Just add to that, Ray? Keep it positive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Negativity is difficult, especially since we don't have all of the facts from biodegradability and whatnot. So, keep it positive. And one lovely thing, Claire, one of the other members of, the committee members of PEBA, created a lovely post that in its own way went a little viral. It's had several hundreds of words. I have no idea how many views, but I would argue it's in the thousands. Just with a little positive message, rather than saying, let's all hate these anti-balloon release guys. It's saying, hey, here's a little fact about latex, and it's got our logo and link to the website, that kind of thing.
There was actually a little question that just came up then about, if you become a member, can you get a copy of the PEBA logo to, share on your website and your emails and things like that? And the answer is yes. So there is a small suite of files that we have. And there you go. Claire said 30,000 views, Chris.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, we have a small suite of files. There's some logos. There's some versions you can use on your email signature. I know I have a version on my email signature, so every email that goes out shows that I'm a PEBA member with a little bit of an explanation. So we can post those on the members group.
Let's make a downloadable zip file on the resources page.
Yep. So you'll be able to, once you're a member, you'll be able to utilize those as well.
Wonderful. One of the things that people basically want to know is, after they join this group and they are participating in it, what do you see as a way of people being able to help the most?
Yeah. Okay. Well, there was a question there also about, is there a way we can send assistance financially? To be honest, we're hesitant to do that just yet. We have talked about doing a GoFundMe, something like that. But at this point in time, we feel it's almost a bad idea until we know exactly what the purpose for that money would be. So while we really appreciate that question being asked and we love the enthusiasm, and that may be something in the future, at this point we're not quite there yet. And unless we can be totally upfront and honest and say this is how we are going to spend this money, then we're not asking for it. And that goes for both individuals, it goes for our suppliers and manufacturers and the like as well. Just to cover off the funding question. In terms of what can people do at this stage, there is one huge thing that they can do, and that is be honest with themselves about the question on the environmental issue. Is it, for me, at this point, a good idea, and is it responsible? And is it the time to accept that I'm not going to do balloon releases? Let's not worry about the rest of the industry for the minute. Let's just focus fair and square on ourselves. Am I prepared to give up this small part of my business? And for some, maybe it, for me personally, I wasn't being asked for them anymore anyway because of the amount of backlash that they're getting. So it was a very easy decision to make. For some others, perhaps a little more difficult, but that is the key. Are you prepared to do that? And if you are thinking yes, wonderful. Join us on PEBA and start getting all of the information from the website, start following the story, and soon enough you will see a call to action, whether who have we got here that's just suggested starting a US chapter.
And so I'm definitely all about helping with that. And then the other person was Kathy.
It's already off and running, right? So
can I add something to that, Ray?
Join PEBA.
Yeah.
What to do is be informed, understand the issue, understand the facts. So this is all about public perception. And I think the general public are really teetering on the brink. The amount of dinner conversations I've had with greenies or non-greenies who just don't understand the facts, especially coming from our side of the argument. So just be a great advocate. Out of the thousands and thousands of decorators, you all have hundreds of friends and family. And if you can just, through research and a good understanding of exactly all of the issues at play and try and, help convince that argument through the general public, I think that'll go absolute mile.
Yeah, and I think in those conversations there's a couple of key messages. One is that, yes, okay, we talk about environmental groups and some of them are, more swayed at just having the argument about banning balloons. Others are credible. We're talking about Sea Shepherd. We're talking about, big organisations that are actually trying to do a good thing, whether they have the right information or not. They're the ones that are out there. We can't, argue the fact that there is that plastic pollution in our oceans is a serious problem. But the problem is that they're saying that our, product that we're using is plastic, which that's where the argument comes in. So we have, the more radical groups that are just there to have an argument and to place a ban. And then we have the groups that are actually trying to create change. And we said at the beginning of this conversation, they're the groups that we want to work with. We want to work with them to say, we love what we do, but we accept that we have a footprint and we also accept what you guys are trying to achieve. So why can't we do this together? So I just wanted to make the difference between the two, because there really is, such a variance in the ones that are trying to make a change for the good and the ones who are just trying to argue and place bans.
One thing I'd like to throw out there,
thank you, Lorena,
is that there are two people who have just talked about that they have joined PEBA and pledged that their business will no longer sell balloons and the intention to release. So far, it's been a positive conversation with my clients. They understand my reasoning and agree. So thank you, PEBA. And that's from Tegan.
That's
and
awesome.
Then Rachel also said that she joined PEBA, and when people come in and ask her about releases, explaining to the customers our PEBA policy, they completely understand. Thank you guys for establishing PEBA. It's been a great forum for information. So
Awesome.
I know for some people it can be scary, especially for people who maybe have a percentage of their business from balloon releases. I know from the people that I've polled in the United States, I couldn't find anybody that could tell me that balloon releases was over 5 or 10% of their business.
Wow.
When you look over. And so what my question to them was, would it not be better to take away that 5 or 10% and still be able to keep the other 90 to 90?
Save the 90%, yeah.
Yeah. So
I really am scared. There is an opportunity here that the industry in which I've built, a wonderful business I'm very proud of, it might be completely revolutionized in the next 10 years. There are so many councils that we used to sell helium tanks for street fairs, that kind of thing. We would do, $1,000 a week, most weeks. And that got banned. And then balloon columns outdoors at the same councils got banned. I hear balloon twisters are banned. And with the advent of corporate, banning some helium, some air, whatever it is, there could be a chance I might not have a job in 10 years. We cannot sit here and wait for something to fix itself.
And not only may we not have jobs in 10 years, but it would be the death of an art form. I think that's something else that we forget, is that, the members of our industry, it's a medium of expression. They are artists. You only got to look at where, the industry has gone in the last few years, from, the 3 balloons on a weight to, these incredible organic, structures and, sculptures and, we've got to look at our twisters as artists as well. But I think that the government, especially in our, legislators, especially in our country, don't necessarily look at us as artists or members of the arts and entertainment community. So I think that's something else that would be such a shame to lose.
I agree. And I think, too, our industry has grown so much that there is such a huge want by our customers to have balloons that I could not even imagine a day that we could not go into a birthday party or a retirement celebration or a New Year's Eve and not have balloons be a part of that experience. And so by us being proactive and being environmentally smart and saying, yeah, let's not litter. We won't litter. And we're going to educate people on the smart practice of how to dispose of things correctly. And you just look at how, I know in the United States, it's been a long time before I used to see trash on the highway all the time. That is now reduced. Why? Because people stood up and they publicly said, hey, not a smart thing to throw your stuff out the window. That's not the proper way to dispose of things. That was a huge campaign. So I see it the same way. With balloons, we're just educating. Rather than at the end of the party letting them go and thinking that's a great thing to do, pin it and bin it. And that's an easy thing to teach. So I want to make sure that if there are other high points that you're wanting to answer, and that for those of you who are on live, thank you for being with us today. If there are any other questions you have, please let us know before we wrap up. Chris, Ray, Zoe, any other major point that you wanted to make or question you wanted?
I think we'll talk about this all day, to be honest with you. It's hard to rein us all in sometimes, but I think we've gotten across what it is that we're trying to achieve, and that is a moving target for us as well. We're not saying that we're only working on the 1 or 2 things, but we're just trying to concentrate on where we think we can make the best impact at the moment in our industry.
I'll maybe add an interesting story. Last year, we did a really fun installation at Sydney Opera House. It was about 18,500 balloons, where we lifted an artist on the main stage at the Opera House, and it was a live event. So we inflated balloons for 2 days. It was a arts festival that ran for 2 days called Antidote, and this was the main feature to the event. So they flew an artist over from the UK and assistants from Germany, and it was a wonderful project to be a part of. But however, there was bad taste in the mouth, because the group that ran it got hit hard because it was a very public event. I think the BBC footage of it had like 1 million views or so. And, you know, public perception is one way right now. And unfortunately, it just sort of ran riot. So we had best practice at the time. We knew this would happen. We assumed there'd be some backlash, and we were ready for it. So we actually we had balloons in garlands. So 4 balloons per layer, 8-meter garlands. We had 100 and something of them. And we even had netting all up above the Opera House because they had beautiful chandeliers. And even with the netting and the control and the whole fact that it was indoors, we still had people whinging about how the balloons are going to be released and kill a turtle. But this is the level of perception that we just need to cut ourselves out of. So beyond that, we had groups saying, well, what a waste of a pollutant, a plastic, as Zoe said. And we separated the latex from the rope. We pulled it through this big tent and pop, and all the balloons dropped, and we separated it from the rope. And all those balloons went out to a private farm to be biodegraded in the sun and the rain, and best practice, right? And so that was the argument. But even still, they would say, well, what a waste of helium. You know, it's a finite resource. And then, look, at that point, we just sort of said, well, how far do we fight this on social media? So in a way, it was kind of best to let it die. But internally, we're having a discussion, well, how many times does an orchestra get flown from Europe with all their equipment? Imagine the greenhouse gas emissions of that. Even the foundations, the pouring of the concrete itself to create the Opera House, that's unnecessary. We don't need that opera. We don't need that orchestra. We don't need that balloon installation. We don't need the Opera House, right, to survive as a society. But like Zoe was alluding to, we have an art form here that actually maybe it does provide something to society that we need. It creates happiness and fun and all those things. And we have to find a balance in, I think, the cultural and societal understanding of what we're achieving here. And it's all about public perception. And there was some people that were just, so excited about it. And unfortunately, a couple of people that really soured the experience. Will the Opera House do that again? I don't know, because no one cares about the greenhouse gas emissions of bringing an orchestra over. Why? Because public perception is one way on that particular issue of environmental damage. And I just really feel that we need to continue this story, this narrative, and just really bring positivity to our industry.
Yeah, and that's the key. If you could take anything away from today, it's, if you're committed to making some changes, join as a member of PEBA. And the second thing is, we want the communication and the perception to be positive in all of our interactions, no matter who it's with.
I love that. Sometimes
and that's why I'm the moderator.
Sometimes it's better to just be quiet than to get into an argument.
Yeah.
It'll make the industry look better.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So great. Well, guys, I am so delighted that you took the initiative where you saw an issue and you went and took action. Thank you for creating PEBA. And I appreciate you being able to have this format to share it with other people. So now we'll be able to put up the recording for the other people who missed it live, to be able to continue conversations, for them to be able to go onto your website and to look at the commitment, and then hopefully join if they can commit to that, to being proactive in our industry and taking care of the environment. I look forward to working with you guys as much as I can for the U.S. side and helping you out in this mission. My background is I actually have a degree in outdoor education and outdoor recreation, so the environment is very important to me. So I'm glad to see other professionals standing up for this and taking this stance. I think it's a great position to be in, so that we can keep that communication line going and keep our industry growing.
Thanks, Joette. Thank you so much for, giving us the opportunity. Just to finish off, there was a quick question there about, who to contact for more information. You've got a couple of ways. You can jump onto our website, peba.com.au, peba.com.au. You can jump onto the Facebook page and shoot us a Facebook message. The 5 of us on the admin team monitor that message. that message bank. So you can shoot us a message there. We've also got an email address, I think, now set up. Chris, is it admin@peba.com?
Yeah, look, not 100% set up. Just use the one on the website still, if that's okay.
Yeah, so there's one on the website. So there's a few ways to get hold of us there, and you can track any of us down on Facebook.
Can I add as well, Zoe? Like, we're really, really interested in good news stories. Also unbiased, fact-based information about our industry, about our product. As you find it, please let us know. We want to keep adding more and more resources to the website, more and more stories to the blog. Also ideas and ways that we can all help each other go forward. It's not just us. There's only so much 5 people can do, and we really want to tap into that enthusiasm that we all have. And Joette, I really appreciate your enthusiasm bringing us here today.
Yeah.
Thank you. And what we'll do is I'll definitely be in conversation with you guys more to see how we can help out and how we can use social media to get more people doing their own tests of biodegradability in their own environment, because that can be an effect. And that way you always know what's going on and you can be a part of the solution. So thank you guys for being here. Thanks to all the people who have tuned in, and for all those people who watch this as a replay. Please take action and go on to their website, read the information, and if you feel that you can commit to that, do. And if not, and you have questions and concerns, then email one of us or reach out to one of us on Facebook and ask questions that pertain to you that you aren't quite sure why you should step up. That's why this group exists. So I appreciate you all being here, and have a wonderful afternoon. Is there anything else you need to say before I say good night? Or for you guys, good day.
Yeah, good day.
From down under.
Thanks, everyone. See ya.
All right. And guys, if you ever have any questions, let me know. I'm Joette at ballooncoach.com. You can find me on ballooncoach.com online, and my Facebook page and mini groups. Have a great day, and thanks for taking care of the environment.